And a very good evening to you on this 16th of December edition of the Vobes Show, coming live from a house in Worthing in West Sussex, where it's not cold terribly, it's not warm either. I didn't know whether to wear a jumper, a shirt, a tie, or even knickers. Who knows? Or even a jacket, to be honest with you. But anyway, welcome aboard. It's lovely to see you. I've been wearing this all day because I've been sitting in my van fiddling with lights, ladies and gentlemen. Lights, cameras, action for a video that'll be coming to you on Saturday. That's the day after tomorrow. But it is now Thursday. Yes, Thursday. We will be doing the Advent calendar, of course. It's just me. The lovely Julia's not here to engage in scintilling conversation, as we usually do. It's just me going solo on this continuation of the Advent calendar days, counting them off up to Christmas. Every day to Christmas, apart from weekends, although Christmas is at the weekend, and it seems that I shall be here doing a Christmas special. I'm not quite sure if it will be a Vobes Show Christmas special or a Bold Explorer Christmas special. It may go on to the Bold Explorer one, mainly because there's more people there, and I don't do very many lives there. So I'll let you know one way or another, and you'll know where to find me. If I could make them simultaneously cast at the same time, that would be extra special, wouldn't it? That would be good. But I don't know that I can. Now, we've got some Christmas cards to say thank you very much to. We have our Advent calendar care of Mark Burgess to have a quick gander at. And somebody came tapping on the van when I was sitting in the van today and brought some vino to the van. Yes, it wasn't Van Gogh either, because he would have scoffed the lot with his dodgy ear. Or was it his fingers? One of the three. Anyway, which is the artist that garroted himself and then painted with feet? I have no idea. Andrew Norris, talking about artists, is here. Well, not here, actually, but we have another video on a chap called Tom Phillips. Now, I've no idea who that is, but we're going to find out a little bit about that. And Ray has decided to threaten the copyright strikes by playing a song Silent Night, and we'll play that in and see if we get the channel completely torn apart by that. Remember, 3 strikes and you're out, so we'll see how lucky we feel about that. Of course, the lovely Julia and Judith are out there in the Vobosphere, and it's lovely to see them. Thank you very much for coming in. Mr. Mocky is saying Thursday already. I know, where does the time just whizzes past, does it not? Mark Burgess says, looks smart, all illuminated now. Well, I can tell you that thing that you gave me, those illuminated, that whatever, how many meters it was, I've wrapped it round the van on the inside, not the outside. I'm testing it, and it looked good. I've yet to film that little bit tomorrow morning and then edit it up and get it ready for Saturday, but I filmed a whole other sequence of sorting out my lights, you know. Now that I'm able to make tables, I thought I should be able to make lights. Next I'll be making a table light, or a table lamp, maybe that should be. Vin de Van, says Clive Audible, very good. Nice to see you all there. Mr. Mocky says, will there be a new Dude Christmas special too? Yes, I should think there'll be one coming from the bath, or inside the Essie. I've yet to put my Naked Englishman microphone inside the Essie. I put 2 different cameras in the Essie, one of which was in the camera, my little GoPro, when I lit it one time, and there was the fire before, but I had to then reach quickly and grab the camera. Also, one camera's been both in the Essie and in the fridge. Where else can I shove my camera? Well, let's not worry too much about that. Andrew Norris says Silent Night is over 200 years old, so there should be no copyright issue. Well, you say that, but do tell YouTube. Tell the algorithm. Who knows what will happen? Ron Langley's there, and he says, hi, Julia and Judith in the background. There we are. Very kind of you. Bonnie says, is this the art appreciation show? I don't know. You know what I'm like with art. I don't appreciate it terribly much, or at least not the art that people tell me is art. I only like the art I like, and that's all art. I've got all heart for art. Yes, it's me art, you know. Right, let's have a quick look at the Advent calendar before we get to the Christmas cards and then the present. I've got some talking points to ask you with. Now, I don't want you to get too worried about this. First one to think about, don't answer quite yet, but first one to think about, what have you made with your hands instead of going out and buying? I recently made a coffee table, but have you made anything that you could have just bought, but you actually homemade it? Did you? Have you done anything like that? I'd be interested to know. Also, the send me a picture this day is send me a picture of anything Christmassy. Anything Christmassy, not a tree, not a wreath. All right? Not a tree, not a wreath. Although that said, I think Lisa has actually sent in a picture of her tree. A number of pictures, actually, but anything Christmassy would do. So, for example, this is from Ramiboo. Look at that. These are Christmas carol singers. They look very lovely, don't they? And there is some more Christmas angels with giant wings. And we have a Christmas... Blimey, look at that. Giant Christmas tree. I didn't realise when I first looked at those first pictures just how enormous those dolls, the carol singers, actually were. They're quite tall, aren't they? They're quite hugely tall. And there it is, all lit up and looking splendid. Blimey, you need to raise the ceiling. Anyway, that's Lisa's tree. Thanks very much. That's Ramiboo. That's the title sequence, which we've already seen. Just trying to get repeat fees on that. But as I am paying myself, I probably won't be. What else does she say in there? She says... pics of tree and the doll. Sadly, I'll be retiring Mum's Christmas tree. That was the one we saw presumably after this Christmas, as it now has more burnt-out lights than lit ones. Oh, right. I had to add way too many extra strings this year. She wanted a spinning tree. Oh, it's a spinning tree, is it? For 20 years. What do you mean? Does it revolve around? I've never heard of that. Christmas tree that revolves. That's a Christmas tree on a turntable. How interesting. She's wanted one for 20 years, finally saw the right one after she had her hip replacement. I suppose that saves you walking around. If you've got a hip replacement, you don't want to go and walk round the tree, especially if it can revolve for you. So that makes it years. She kicked herself so much for not buying it for herself. Then she gave me the credit card and ordered me back down into the store while still in the hospital recovering from the surgery. So there we go. How about that? Marvellous. Thank you very much, Lisa. Very kind of you. So we're going to go and have a quick look at what's behind the door on the December the 16th. What can it possibly be? Thanks to the lovely Mark Burgess for our Advent calendar. And here it is. There we go. Look at that. This is December the 16th with a few faces from the film I was desperately trying to remember yesterday. School for Scoundrels, Ian Carmichael, Terry Thomas, and who's that? Somebody Scott. Oh, Jeanette Scott and Alistair Sim. Jeanette Scott was obviously the woman, not Terry Scott in drag, of course. Thank you very much for that. There we are. Some of the things that I've been recently interested in. And yes, I haven't actually read... is it a book? I imagine it might be a book as well. Dennis Price is in it as well. Dennis Price often plays the baddie, doesn't he? I haven't... seen if it's book, but it's based on the works of Stephen Potter, I believe. Anyway, Now, Christmas cards. Let's get to the Christmas cards. They came in today. Thank you very much. Been very, very generous. This is a lovely one. Look at that. Look at that. It's on brown paper. Vinegar and brown paper. It says here, to Richard, have a very Merry Christmas. Thanks for keeping us sane and reminding us when the King may not be wearing his clothes. All the best, from Stuart Chatfield. Now, yes, I mean, at the moment, the King is very much not wearing his clothes. I am the little boy telling you that Omicron is a bit of a con. I think it should be called Omnicon. We'll find that out in a few months' time when we've decimated the... well, more than decimated, because decimated means 10%, doesn't it? The Romans were notorious for whatever, anyway, for absolutely ruining the UK, a lot of businesses, but not just the hospitality business, a number of business. People aren't going to work anymore. People aren't going into the cities. That means the coffee shops, the hair salons, and all the people in which people are in the high street or having a break during the workday. They're not going into their shops anymore. They're not buying anything, and these businesses are going under. It is kind of, they're all staying at home, so this is this kind of lockdown by stealth, and I believe the Prime Minister was asked that, is this lockdown by stealth? The reason being is there's no furlough scheme, and there's no, what was it? There was a percentage off the VAT, I think, and there was other sort of discounts and benefits and things for people to help them through. But this time, because it's not officially called a lockdown, there's none of that. It's just, no, stay at home, because we've got this terrible, terrible, terrible thing, this Omicron. Oh, my God. And only one person has died of it. Or rather, with it. We don't know, do we? We don't know. We don't know who it was. And obviously, they weren't young and fit, because if they were young and fit, we would know that. That would have been on the headlines. That here's the first person, a young, fit 35-year-old, a muscle builder from Basingstoke. He's died. No, it must have been somebody who's probably 92 or over 70 anyway, with numerous problems, and that was the thing that pushed them over the edge, just like any ordinary flu. But yes, by stealth. So there we are. I am the boy who's telling you that we're overreacting, just as actually as the South Africans have been going. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What are you doing? We've had it for a whole month. Nobody's dying of it, and we're not imposing any more any extra restrictions on anybody than we have been doing for the last 6 months. Well, what does it? I mean, hello. Why are we doing this? It's bonkers. This is a beautiful Christmas tree. Look at this. This lovely Christmas tree. This is Believe in Children, says Dr. Bernardo. And it says, to Richard, have a happy Christmas and a happy New Year in 2002 from Elaine and Ron. There you go. Thank you very much. What a lovely... It's actually in the shape of a tree, which is nice for me because it means I don't have to go and bother buying one, because I'll have this tree as my tree at Christmas time. So I shove that over there. Not that you can really see them, but they are. I do scatter them about on the studio set. I need to put more light on the back there so that you can actually see. I do try to decorate the stuff with everything that you throw at me, unless it's food, of course. This is another beautiful one. Look at that. There it is, a camper van with a Christmas tree on the back and some presents. And this one's Richard and family, and Julia and family, wishing you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All good wishes, Anne and David Chester. Thanks for brightening up our lives. Much appreciated. Isn't that lovely? I really, I'm so touched. I can tell you, I mean, you might think I just muck about on this show, which obviously I do it from time to time, but I am touched that people actually believe that I am brightening up their lives in this last 20 months of hell. David Vad says, just found 2 versions of Silent Night in the YouTube audio library in the YouTube studio for free use. Oh, well, there we are. Silent Night. Shut up. Silent Night. Keep your noises down. And there's no worry about that in the pubs up and down the countryside and all those venues that we're going to have Christmas parties in them. They'll be silent as anything. In fact, these city centres and town centres now are a bit like ghost towns, unless you happen to go past one of these queue up for 20 hours COVID boosters. Sorry. Just got to rub my nose, bit of COVID crawled up there. Sean James Cameron says, my local cafe are closing tomorrow due to the lack of customers this week, and they're not reopening until the end of January. I don't blame them. You may as well, you're probably better off having an extended Christmas holiday, doing nothing, and rather than paying staff to stand there and wait and do the occasional cup of coffee and nothing. I mean, it's an absolutely appalling thing. It's going to go down in history. Boris Johnson is going to go down in history, isn't he, as the man that killed the hospitality industry. I mean, there's no excuse for it. He's just a blithering idiot. And the sad thing is, I hold my hand up. I voted for him. This is a lovely card again. This one's a bit more religious card, this one, with the 3 wise midgets from Egypt. And it says, wishing you a happy Christmas. Best wishes for Christmas from Pamela Green. There we are. She says, please don't call them midgets. That is an offensive term. No, they are transgender fluid wise people. I don't even know if we're allowed to use the word people anymore. Probably not allowed to say that, because they may or may not be a person. They could be just a bit like, what was the pop star who identified as a squiggle or something? Was it Prince, formerly identified as a squiggle? Anna Jones says the man who died was a 70-year-old recluse. Now, that'll teach him not getting out and getting some immunity into his system. According to a family member who was talking to Nick Ferrari this morning in the Vobes Show. Oh, there we are. A recluse. So it's 70. There you go, 70. And if he didn't get out much, probably wasn't doing a lot of exercise then. We're probably eating all the wrong foods. Who knows? Probably just scared to death. That's the problem. People could die because they're just literally scared to death. They're so worried, their mental health, just because they haven't necessarily, they might not necessarily be overweight, or they may not have cancers or other things. People do die, don't they, if they've just given up. When you get to a certain point in life, your partner goes. Various people have had that. They get to the point, they say, everything is gone, I've got nothing to live for. And they give up. And mentally, they shut themselves down. And it's only a matter of time before they do pass on. Audrey Forbes says, absolutely not. Who would bring my dinner on its golden platter? Yes, won't be me. The man who made Britain communist. Yes, that's Michael White defining Boris Johnson. Clive Waterfall says, ferret, formerly identified as a squirrel. There we are. Exactly. Mark Burgess, will carol events be cancelled now? It seems everything's being cancelled, isn't it, at the moment? The big shows in London are being cancelled. My mate, Matthew Holdsworth, was supposed to be up in London doing some carol singing. He's a very religious chap, and he does a lot of choir, proper, church choir singing and all of that sort of stuff. La, 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 la. He was going to do some of that. All cancelled. It's dreadful. And at Christmas time, it's second time running. You couldn't make it up, really, could you? You couldn't. So here's a question for you then. Did you go to work today? Were you working at home? Did you? I mean, I was working at home, but I often do work at home, regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not. If the weather is grim, I was inside my van, so I wasn't technically at home. I was out in the little lane where I live, and I was inside my van working on the lights for another video for you. I'm not going to stop working and all this stuff. Do you know, I never got a penny from the government last year when they had whilst everybody else was sitting there on furlough, didn't have to go in there pruning their ears and sharpening up their beards and all that sort of stuff, growing their Movember nostrils and all of that. I never got a penny. I didn't ask for it. Never got a penny. Didn't take out any loans. I just kept on working. I thought, sod this. I shall keep trying to make people as miserable as sin by making my videos, and it seems to have worked. Paul Smith says, and he was unvaccinated, but the story comes from an unidentified caller to a radio show, so it could well be false. Exactly. Somebody else had told me about that, and I think that's absolutely right. We don't know the source of that, and the government are very quiet. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that there's one death. When COVID first came in, we were having a number of these points where, a couple of people had died. Oh, yeah, what's the death rate now? It's about 10 a day. Oh, yeah, 20 a day, 30 a day. Oh, we better lock down. I can't remember the actual number, but it was quite a daily number of people one person has died in the 4 weeks that we've known about it. And over here, admittedly, we've only had a week or so, but only one person has died. Nobody's being supported financially, and everything. I mean, and people. What I don't get is 20 months in, people are still scared. They're still wearing their masks. They're still obeying the rules. They're still going, oh, we're all going to die. And yet most of these people have had their jabs, and most of them have lined up and had their booster jabs. I just don't get it. And yet they're still scared. It's like, well, why hasn't the government at least given some positive stuff and said, look, okay, there is this thing. It does look a little bit, we don't know too much about it, but we do know it's not as virulent and as nasty as the other one. If you've had your 2 jabs and you're going to get your booster, you're going to be fine. So we don't need to lock down. We don't need to ask you to stop mucking about, because mostly everybody has. And if you don't want to be vaccinated, well, it's your own hard luck. If anything happens to you and you end up in hospital, it's your own tough tits. Beg my language. And I'm prepared to take that risk. I'm quite happy to take that risk. Audrey Forbes says, my friends have rung tonight to cancel our Christmas meal tomorrow night as they're afraid of catching COVID. And yet we still know the truism, and it's not changed ever since it started, right at the very beginning, when they did tell us the one time that they were positive was right at the very beginning, and they said, really, this is a disease that will affect those people who are over 80 and that they're or have bad comorbidities. Everyone else will just get a bit of an uncomfortable time. Some will not even know they've had it. Some will just weather it a bit. Some will have it a bit like really bad man flu. It's not going to deal with much. But those people at the end of their life or are very, very frail, they're the ones that will get it. That part has not changed, and if anything, this Omicron one is going to be a lot less severe than that. So we've lived the worst. Not only that, most people are vaccinated. It's absolutely amazing. Now, let's move on briefly, because look, I was working in my van today, and all of a sudden there was a, hey, Richard, and I thought, what's this all about? What? I came out, and there was this bloke with his fists up like this, and he was saying, here, Richard, it's Mr. Ray here. I went, what, Mr. Ray, who's rung me in on the Vobes Show? He said, yeah, I knocked on your door, you weren't in, I came round the back, smashed all the windows, burnt the house down, now I found you in your van, he said, with a big lump of gelignite. Actually, it wasn't gelignite, it was this bag. I said, oh, hello, Mr. Ray. He said, hello. Very nice bloke, let me tell you. And he said, look, I've got you and Julia some lovely mulled wine, which was very kind of him. He said, but more than that, hang on a minute. He said, you've got to do this on the show. And he said, I've got you some spices, some special spices. I think these are cloves, and these are underwear. No, these are star. I can't remember what he called them. These are star-shaped something or others. Maybe somebody can identify them for me. Let me just put them under the special microscope that we've got so you can see. There we are. Look. Can anybody identify those? Thank you very much. Don't know what they are, but they are lovely spices to go in there. He says, shove them in with the fruit and all the rest of it. I said, I'll do it on Monday's show with the lovely Julia. This is the best fruit-rich and spicy mulled wine. Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. He also said, you've got to come and meet the missus. I said, of course we'll come and meet the missus. And he dragged me down the alleyway where I live. And there he introduced me to this beautiful lady in this lovely car, and she said, "Oh, hello, very nice to meet you." And I said, "Oh, it's very nice to meet you. How are you?" Yeah, very well. Oh, I said, you could have come in and had a cup of tea. She said, no, we've just taken, we had a friend, a relation with them from the hospital who had come out, so they were busy doing other things. We've got a phone call. We have a phone call, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, it was very nice to have a nice friend-to-friend chat. Hello, welcome to the Vobes Show.
Hello, Sir COVID. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you very much. How are you, Sir Alan?
We need to do a shout-out to Paul Cockerill.
Oh, why is that? Why?
Who posted... quite early on tonight to say he has COVID.
Oh, Paul, have you got the dreaded...
Well.
Yes. We want you to ring in. Tell us what it's like.
Yeah,
what are the symptoms?
He's got alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron.
No, oh, that's a nice easy one. It's one that just trips off the tongue.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yes, with a K.
With a K. Right.
Yes.
Comatose erotomotus.
Yes, because I'm like Boris, you see. I studied all those ancient languages, so I'm qualified to run the country.
Yes, absolutely. All those ancient languages, you can get down with the kids.
They come in handy, I can tell you.
Oh, I bet they do.
Oh, yes. I feel a song coming on. It's
good.
beginning to feel a lot like COVID everywhere I go. That's it.
Have you been out? You're up in Surrey, aren't you?
Yes, I was walking past the pub earlier, and there were 4 people in the pub. That's all.
4 people. It's Christmas. You know, it's Christmas.
4 people in the pub.
What time was this? Don't tell me it was
time.
6 a.m. What time?
No. Well, I did have a problem with the morning last night. I fell asleep after your show, and
that happens. Most people fall asleep in the show, but never mind.
And I woke up at 10 and thought it was 10 in the morning.
Oh.
And I'd had 2 cups of coffee before I realised it was 10 o'clock at night.
And then you couldn't sleep.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But I could chat to my chums in the USA then.
Oh, of course.
But, no, must have been about 5:30, 6 o'clock, 4 people in the pub.
4 people, isn't that? That's an outrage.
Well, I mean, Chris Twatty has shut us down, hasn't he?
Yeah. He said,
basically, he said, you have got to isolate from between now and Christmas, otherwise you won't have a Christmas.
And the thing is, the other thing is people don't want to go out in case they get pinged, because if they get pinged, they will have to isolate at Christmas. They won't be able to be with anybody, not even their immediate family. You know, they'll be stuck in a little small room. Hey, I need to go now. I need to go. I've got 10 days in here. I've got 10 days. You're not coming in for 10 days. I can't. My bladder won't hold for 10 days.
Who's that bloke in the basement? He's got to stay there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Eric's is permanently up there, but
you've got to go down there with him.
This is I mean, it's a dreadful. I mean, it's you know, when you think it can't get worse, can it? It can't get worse. But then we get locked down, we obey all that. It's 3 weeks to flatten the curve. We do all of that. Then we come out in the summer and we realise, do you know what? Actually, this thing is okay in the summer, but we know that it's going to be a thing in the winter. Okay, so why don't we prepare for the winter so that we can actually make sure we've got those extra hospitals and all the rest of it, and what have you. And don't worry, the vaccination's coming. It's going to be great. You're going to have these jabs and you're going to be fine. Then the winter comes and it looks like last year we hadn't prepared. We were told we couldn't have Christmas, so we paid for it in January, February, March. And so we thought, well, this might happen the next, you know, is it going to happen for Christmas? No, he won't do it for Christmas of the next year. Can't possibly. He's bound to have learned his lesson this time and prepared. Got extra doctors, trained people up. People get their vaccines in everybody's arms and all the rest. But, oh, no, hang on, we'll have a booster. Oh, no, we'll have a booster now, right? But surely you'll have those, didn't we have those cricket pitches which had been built into new hospitals or whatever? These are Mark Angel Gabriel hospitals.
Oh, yeah. The Nightingales.
The Nightingales.
Yeah.
What happened to them? They were they were packed up fairly quickly and all forgotten about. And here
we didn't have any because we didn't have the staff.
But we've had a year now to train up some people just to look after people who've got COVID. I appreciate that, you know, they're going to be a bit. You need consultants and this, that, and the other. But in a year, you could just focus some places. This is a COVID service over here. The rest of the National Health Service does what it normally does. Besides which, we've got this 5 or 7 million, whichever figure you want to pull out the air, backlog of people who are going to be dying in high real numbers from real diseases, not Mickey Mouse ones.
They're all limping about on busted knees and busted hips.
Absolutely, dying of cancer.
Which they can't get replaced. No, I mean, they did have a better system in where I was in Texas, where they had hospitals dedicated to doing things like hips and knees, which never had to take any other patient in with COVID.
Yeah.
So all that just carried on. But here we have general hospitals which can't help infecting people with COVID who go in there for other reasons. Something like a quarter of the people in hospital with COVID in the last peak weren't there because of COVID in the first place.
No.
My brother's wife caught COVID in hospital.
Right. I mean, this is the story of the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, it's, if you've got a isolation hospital and you take people to the isolation hospital to look out the window, the chances are when they go home from the isolation hospital, they've got whatever people were in the isolation hospital for. So what you do need is these places that are just that. This is where we take all the COVID patients, bang, shove them over there. A bit like the old days when we had lepers and we had leper hospitals. Not a nice idea, but that's what you do, and it worked. All those poor lepers in the medieval periods who had to go to and do squints through the churches to see the priest doing his thing. They all had their little places of rest where their limbs could drop off quietly and nobody had to worry about it. But at least the other hospitals, people could come in. They weren't going to go out as, come in with a wooden leg and go out as a leper.
Yeah, well, of course, that actually wasn't contagious, but that's another issue. I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, let's not twist the facts just to suit my story.
No.
What?
But no, it is just my impression, and this is to do with my dealing with the doctor office here, which just kept throwing my American vaccine paperwork in the bin until they could no longer get it on the National Health Service database, is that public services are just incompetent.
Yeah, I think they are, and I think they're probably getting more and more incompetent and incontinent at the same time.
But at least the good news for me is that since the NHS doesn't accept that I've had 3 vaccinations already, next year I can contact them and have 3 more. I'll be radioactive.
Well, if you are, we'll all be plugging into you. We won't need these. We won't need these these whirlywigs in the sea near us. We can come and plug into Alan Sandell and get all our radioactive power, which would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
I'll be triply vaccinated.
Fantastic. Well, that will be Gosh, you will be not a national treasure, but you will be you'll be like the Elephant Man. You'll be dragged out round universities in your old age, and they'll strip you down naked, and they'll be peering at you through magnifying glasses and say, "This is the only man who has been, tripled. Whatever everybody else did, he was forced, and look, he's still standing."
Anyway, looking forward to the rest of the show.
Thank you very much. Look after yourself. Take care.
Cheers, bye.
Bye. There we are. That was Alan Sandell with an update on the situation up there, noting that pubs were closed. I mean, poor old, you've got to feel sorry for the Queen. I mean, the Queen is, how old is she? 95? Getting on a bit. And it could be her last Christmas. I mean, it could be. I mean, who knows? She might get knocked down by a bus. You never know. I mean, I hope she doesn't, of course. But she might do. And it may be her last Christmas as she's getting on a bit. And apparently I read that she has cancelled a traditional family dinner, a Christmas dinner. I mean, again, those people who had Christmas cancelled last year and thought, do you know what, my granny, I'm not going to see her. She may not last another year. She may have held on for one more year. And then maybe in January, February, or sometime next year, that granny may disappear up to the thing, and that will be 2 Christmases you haven't had a chance to see her. That'd be it's just heartbreaking. Andrew Norris says, haven't we already covered this subject over and over again? Yeah, we have. I mean, this is the irony of the situation. We have. It's such an important subject. I know people don't want to listen to it. This is the trouble. There's too many people who want to put their head in the sand and go, oh, no, it's not happening. I don't care about it. But I think it's important. I think it's vital to talk about these things. We need to get these things out. People need to be free to be able to talk these things and air it and not hold it in and just think, oh, is it only me? Is it no one's talking about it? They're scared to. And it's my show, so who cares? Well, you might care, of course. Station Master's Choice says COVID does exist and needs to be taken seriously, but I do agree that the things get over the top. Sensible precautions should see us through. Can't keep hiding from it. We've got to live with it. That's the bottom line. Is we've got to live with it. Trev's Travels by Narrowboat says 4th jab coming April, May time. Yep. I mean, while there's money to be made, these big farmers are going to make as much money out of it as you can. Michael White says the Queen is a hologram. Not too sure about that. I've actually met the Queen and I've shaken hands with the Queen, and that is the truth. Not that anything else I've said is particularly untruthful. Some of it may be, but that is true. I have met the Queen, and it was she was very nice. I was dressed as an overgrown schoolboy at the time, but it was all good. Ramiboo says, yep, my mum put her knee and was scheduled for a knee replacement when COVID started, so they cancelled the surgery on her. Then, when they went to reschedule, she was afraid to go into the hospital because she thought she would catch COVID while there. So, her having a busted knee didn't help her stability with Lewy body. That threw her balance as it was. Well, exactly. And that's happening all over the place. People were so frightened to go to hospital that they haven't gone in for their cancer treatments, and now some of these people are beyond help, sadly. You know, I mean, they'll be looked after, but if you're a man of a certain age and you discover certain things going on with your body, say in your prostate, which is one of men's most I was going to say popular, but most common sort of cancers that you can get, and you need to go and see your doctor. I mean, I keep hearing Jeremy Kyle on Talk Radio saying, if you must check your prostate, because if you see blood in your wee or you feel a bit weird, go and have it checked out. Well, how? How do you? If you suddenly have a lump and you think, oh, I've got to go and see my doctor, you can't go and see your GPs. They're too busy sticking boosters into your arm, which may be a good or bad thing. I'm not worried about whether it's a good or bad thing. I'm not anti-vax and all of the rest of it. It may be fine, but I don't think there's this urgent need to get everybody boosted for this Omicron, unless, of course, they're in the vulnerable category. What's the point of boosting and vaccinating 18-year-olds unless they're in the vulnerable? What's the point? And children, who are the least? I don't understand. Anyway, Andrew Norris wants us to move on, so we better watch his film. As you know, Andrew Norris has been bringing us some contentious art to have a look at. I've noticed not one constable among them, but when I see a policeman, I tend to look the other way. Let's have a look, see what Tom Phillips is and who and his art, thanks to the lovely Andrew Norris over there in Croatia.
Tom Phillips is an artist whose work I was familiar with from the late 1970s, even if I didn't know his name, as he designed the cover for one of my favourite Brian Eno albums. Back in the 1980s and 90s, it was my habit to write to people I admired in order to elicit a written reply. And one such person was Tom Phillips. I bought a signed copy of a book he published of an altered text, which he called The Humulent.
This book is called A Humulent, and it's based on a Victorian novel which I've mucked about with or added to or taken the things from over 50 years. I started it in 1966, and I said the first book I can find for threepence I'll work on for the rest of my life. And the first book I found was a human document. And it was a bit of luck because a human document is very helpful. It's got a huge vocabulary, it's interesting, it's a bit dusty in the Victorian sense, but one can overcome that. One can find all sorts of erotic things hidden in Victorian language, etc.
It was a brilliantly inventive work that had a precedent in the writings of the American writer William Burroughs. Phillips took each page and extracted from the text a kind of hidden poetry. He isolated particular words or a part of a sentence to reveal more pertinent text relevant to his life and experiences. It's a project he's worked on for 50-odd years, and the published works have gone into many, many editions. In one of my letters, I asked him if he had any works for sale, and he offered me this print to commemorate his 50th birthday, with an appropriate text, and for this I paid just £50.
Well, there you go. That's a bit unusual and slightly different. Whipping a bit of text out and making it into something else. Yeah, 50 quid though. Whew. for what was it? Just a single sheet ripped out of a. I could have given you. I could have for £49.95, Andrew. I might be prepared to tear a page out of a threepenny book that I might have got somewhere and colour it. I mean, I don't know whether it'd be of any. No, I'm obviously digging a hole here. But no, very interesting. See, now is that art or is that just a pastime? You know, like a crossword. Who knows? It's always difficult to know what it means when you say, is it art? Hello, caller. Welcome to the Vobes Show.
Sean from London.
Ah, Sean from London. How the devil are you? I haven't heard from you for a few days.
I had a text from my doctor today
Oh, my goodness. Are you all right?
saying, "Dear Mr. Cameron,
Yeah.
our records show that your BMI is 35. Therefore, you are obese."
Oh. Well, from your records, when was the last time you went to... Hang on a minute. When was the last time you went to your doctor?
2.5 years ago.
So how can they say we rifle? They haven't got time, have they? Should we rifle through some old patients? Yeah, let's have a quick. You know, look. There's a queue of people outside. We're supposed to be injecting them with something. Is it Domestos this week? I don't know what it is. We're injecting them something. And no, we'll have a bit of time off. We haven't rifled through the old account. Yeah, there's a bloke 2 years ago. Oh look, he's an obese bugger, isn't he? We'll ring him up and get him in.
No. Hold on.
Holding on.
We have a new service where our GPs can refer you directly to a nutritionist or a dietitian without seeing you for a consultation. Would you like this? Please respond to this text.
Gosh, what did you do?
Well, I've responded to the text, but they're going to send me to somebody.
But don't you? I mean, hang on a minute. But I'm still stuck over the first hurdle. They've made an assessment on you to say you're obese from 2 years ago. They don't know whether you've been on a diet. You've been now that you're Mr. Marathon Man. You may be a stick insect. But if if let's say that you'd been running in the last year because COVID had lockdown and you thought, I'm going to get my exercise. I've been running around. Now I'm as thin as a rake. And now in comes this thing from your doctor saying, by the way, you're obese. You need to go and seek help. Crikey, I thought I was thin. Oh, my. Don't you think that's a bit odd? They haven't seen you to make that judgment?
Exactly. And then I got a text the next day saying, because you're obese, there is more chance of you getting COVID. So please book in for a jab.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to lose the weight within a week.
No.
You know? Although I have lost a stone within a fortnight.
You've lost a stone in a fortnight. Well, that's good, isn't it?
Yes. I've been doing this intermittent fasting, so I'm only eating between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m.
I do intermittent fasting. When I go to bed, I don't eat till I get up.
Exactly.
So,
well, I'm doing it because I haven't got a lot of... I'm doing it because I haven't got a lot of cash this Christmas.
I'm going to get the violin. Actually, we did have a violin. Oh, no, it was busted. Julia left a violin here. No, that's... so really, is that just... I mean, I'm not being sceptical, but is that really just a way to sort of wheedle you in to get the booster? I mean...
I don't know what it is, but I just found it... I found it fascinating that they'd based it on...
2 years ago. And they hadn't seen you.
And that they don't want to see me. They'll just send me directly to somebody without actually having a consultation. Because my health could have got far worse in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you had actually died, they may have a record of that. That would be a bit much to say, oh, dear Mr. Cameron, and a relation picks it up and goes, oh, yeah, what's this about? And he says, you're obese. He said, no, I'm sorry. It'd be lovely to go right back to, no, sorry, he's dead. Not only is he obese, he's dead. He died because you've not taken any interest in him in the last 2 years.
But the thing is, if they send me to somebody and they'll say, right, you need to, all they're going to say is you need to exercise more and you need to eat these type of foods. Salmon every day. Well, I can't afford salmon every day, so are they going to pay for the food as well? Maybe I can get the food on sort of the prescription.
Yeah.
There's a thought.
Well, food on the NHS is always a bit dodgy. If you've ever been to hospital, you'll know that. Bonnie says, if a few thousand texts being sent saves just one life. it's well worth it to that person's family and friends. Well, I don't know about that. If it saves one life, that's very nice. But what about the few thousand other people who may have been worried sick by getting that text out of the blue? You know, I think there's more than just the fact that you've saved one person. We saved that, but these people are now worried sick that they've been rifled through their stuff from 2 years ago and been told they're obese, when actually they may not be. The doctor hasn't seen them.
Well, I actually sent a email to my doctor back in the summer to say, please could you stop sending me the letters, because I went to go and have something sorted the December before COVID started. And every 3 months, they kept saying, "Oh, we've pushed the date on. We've pushed the date on." In the end, I said, "Look, just cancel it."
Yeah, exactly?
You keep giving me a date that's in 3 months. That's never going to happen. The conditions get far worse. So, just cancel the whole thing.
Yeah, just meet me in my box. Come to the funeral, dear doctor. Just come to the funeral. It'd be much easier. You can diagnose me as dead then.
Well, there was a doctor on my allotment next door to me. And she said to me a few years ago, she said, I shouldn't say this, but 80% of our job is just guesswork. So I thought, I'll stay in the house with Google and I'll just guess the thing for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Bonnie also adds that obese people can get free gym membership. Wait a minute. That means all the gyms will be out of business, won't it? Because it's mostly obese people who go to the gym in the first place. All the gym bunnies don't need to go. Stars says some surgeries do viral video appointment. Oh, sorry, virtual, not viral.
Viral.
You can imagine. Hey, yeah, have a look at this. This bugger came. He was obese. Look at this.
200,000 subscribers.
Yes, that'll be the way to do it. Flappy Goose says I'm 15 stone because I'm muscly. But the NHS will call me obese. There you go. Says, if you're a bodybuilder. Trev's travels by narrowboat. He says, it is for me, it might create all sorts of mental health issues. There we are. Doctors are trained to sell big pharma drugs, says Michael White.
I passed the gym this evening and there was only 3 people in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and also, you go to the hospitals, all the doctor surgeries, that's where ill people are. You don't want to be frequenting with those sort of things, do you?
Well, the last time I did go to the doctor, there was only 2 people there. Me and the chef in the local cafe that I used to go to.
Oh dear. Adrian Broughton says from Welcome the Journey, says, here in Australia I can see my GP often. I make an appointment to see him face to face or by telehealth phone call. That's very interesting. Which part of Australia are you in? You're not in Victoria, are you, Adrian? And by the way, I did see your earlier messages. I hadn't been able to respond. But Victoria, isn't that the place where they send people to concentration camps? Sorry, it's not called concentration camps, but it's pretty much the same, that you go into these sort of steel caravans, steel box. I suppose a caravan is a steel box, is it? Or is it aluminium? But anyway, it's a box and you're not allowed to get out of the place for 10 days or whatever it is. And are they not thinking, or are they not implementing mandated vaccination? This is a strange world.
I remember that I went to the doctor once and I did that thing of, can I just ask about this one more thing? And she went, no, you're only allowed 2.
Oh yeah, the Columbo. You can't do the Columbo thing. Oh, just one more thing.
Surely all this could be connected. And the issue that I have with going to the doctors at the moment is you never see the same one. Whereas when I was a kid, you saw the same one.
Yes.
And they would say, I think this is something to do with that thing from 6 months ago.
I know. There's too many people now. Too many people.
Well, I saw this through one doctor, and he was there pressing the computer for 5 minutes, and it turned out that he didn't even know how to switch the thing on. He was just sat there pretending he was on there.
Oh, really?
And I said to him, if you switch it on by the wall, it might work.
Yeah.
So I made my excuse, and and I got out of there.
Absolutely. Oh, I don't blame you. Adrian Broughton says there are no camps in Victoria. Which is the one where they've got the camps then? I watched a thing on Unheard on YouTube. Okay, it's a YouTube channel, but it's Unheard. And Freddie Sayers was interviewing a 26-year-old woman. I think she was 26. And she'd been at the camp, and they played in video footage, which she'd taken on a phone, in which she had been taken there with because she had met somebody or had been with somebody who tested positive. She was negative. She continually tests negative, but she was made to go to this place, instantly taken away, or charged $5,000. And I don't think that's been disputed, but it's interesting. I thought she was in Victoria, but it may not be there. But it's one of these big camps. Jackie Lowe says, evening all. I went to vote tonight. Oh, this is the election. Oh, yes. North Shropshire has...
To the election bit, it is Howard Springs Centre in Darwin.
Yes, that's right. Howard Springs Centre in Darwin. That was the place. Yeah.
Because the police have just arrested 3 people tonight who tried to escape.
Ba-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-ba-bum, bum, bum. Why isn't my...
But the election tonight, well, I think I might stay up to see the vote, to see what the result is.
That would be interesting, yeah, won't it? So anyway, she says, went to vote, North Shropshire had an election. On the way home, someone had left a large Chinese takeaway outside the pub. Pub customers found it and ate all the prawn crackers. I don't know if that's a joke.
Not quite sure.
No. Will Martin says the camps are in North Australia. Oh, right. Okay, thanks very much for that. And Jeff Amandy says, in 2006, I sold Spurs versus Sheffield UFA Cup final programme, a single sheet of paper. I got £16,000. I think the total was 21 grand. In 2006, a Spurs versus Sheffield UFA Cup final programme. What, like a programme that you get like at the theatre? I remember once working juggling and entertaining, and went to we was asked to go and entertain the crowd at Watford Football Ground, and so when people arrived, we were there juggling and doing stuff and being silly, and then in the interval we did it. And I said to the guy, he said, "Oh, you can stay afterwards." And I said, "So, but actually after the interval, we can go home." And he said, "Interval?" I said, "Yeah, at the end of the first half." And he said, "Yeah, that's half time or something," because I was calling it by theatre name. It's the interval, isn't it? Isn't it the interval whilst the teams go and refresh themselves and have a few beers and change
and then
ends?
They come out and sell ice creams and
yes, that's it. Popcorn, lovely popcorn.
Programs.
Oh dear. So it's amazing what people will do. So that's interesting about the. I'd be interested to know. I'm fascinated to know now if Boris is going to get a bloody nose. That and we can't count, says Jackie. Oh yeah.
Who else would take over?
Well, it wasn't this old Owen Patterson's old place.
Because I read that there are 2 people in the running. One of them is currently in America, the treasurer, but he's will come back. But the other one, Liz Truss, has been holding private parties in a Mayfair club.
Yeah, it's all coming out now. I mean, it seems the party thing seems to have sort of gone off the boil a bit. Well, Boris has very cleverly deflected that by putting the country into unofficial lockdown, just so the media no longer question whether there were private parties, one rule for one and one rule for everybody else.
Yes, but you've got to say, though, that if that's all that the opposition have got to go on is parties, well, I don't particularly want them in charge. No,
but the point, to me, the most important point about the parties is the people having the parties were not as scared of the COVID when we didn't have vaccines. We didn't have them, so they weren't vaccinated. They were not scared because they could have a party. They told everybody else to be absolutely scared, and yet these people who were making the rules were not scared. And it just makes you go, Why? Why weren't they? What did they know about the COVID that they were not so scared about that they had absolutely terrified the rest of the nation? That to me is that, whether they are the parties or not is irrelevant. It's the fact that they just were not scared about it when they should have been.
Maybe they had their jabs sooner than everybody else.
Maybe they were the guinea pigs for the jabs, and that's why they've gone loony.
And I think that the Queen has cancelled just to set an example to everybody else.
Oh.
Whereas if I was her, I would go ahead because it could be the last time.
Well, that's what I thought. But I mean, but I thought she had a bit more backbone than that. But
then who wants to sit next door to Andrew?
Well, that's true. Traditional family, yeah, you wouldn't want him there, would you? And if those other two idiots came over from abroad, not that they will, they wouldn't be welcome.
Could you just imagine if she did drop off the perch like 2 days before the bank holiday next week?
Can you imagine? They'd say it was Omicron, wouldn't they? They'd if the Queen dies in the next 6 months, they'll say no matter what it is, if she fell off a horse and was split in half by a portcullis, they would say no, it was Omicron, because that would, and everybody would go, oh my God, get me my jab, get me my jab, get me my jab.
But next summer we're supposed to have 5 days off, I think, for a birthday.
Well, there we are. So you can have nice isolation somewhere. Poor old Andrew Norris. I've got to feel sorry for Andrew Norris. He's going, move on, move on, move on, move on. I don't understand. The people in the chat room,
all these artists seem to be dead, and he seems to be the connection.
Ah, he's killed them all. That's what it is. Buying their pictures has killed them off. I just must say, if you don't like it, stop watching. If you don't like the conversation, stop watching. It really is, it's not like you're the producers. You see it in there. Move on. Talk about something else. We've had all this. It's like, for goodness sake, this is the biggest thing to hit the country since the Second World War. We've had this for 20 months. Boris has moved things. I know people think, oh, well, we'll just come to the Vobes Show for a bit of fun and laughter. And I try to do that. But every now and again, it's just too big an issue than to not talk about. And there are very few.
Also, you're on 5 nights a week at the moment, so
yeah.
Just come back some other night.
I've got to fill the blooming show with something. But the other thing is, there's not that many places where you can talk the way that we're talking about it, because most places will shut you down. So all I'm saying is, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Simple as. No one else gets a word in edgeways. You're welcome to give me a ring, Mr. Norris. We've got one more video. Let's go and play this with. This is our Silent Night. This is where we get the copyright clampdown. Not anything to do with Ray or any of the people who've sent their stuff in, like Bonnie the other day. It's just YouTube is a little bit weird at the moment. Thank you so much, Sean.
All the best.
Look after yourself. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. YouTube is just a bit weird, the way it's doing these copyright claims. I don't know why. I think it's just like nerves. I don't know. Maybe it's just, it's got too many corporations, got too many fingers in it. I don't know what it is. I sent 20-second video. Lovely. It's the trouble with just sending them on the fly with videos is I can't process them that quickly, because if you've shot it on your phone, it's an iPhone. This is a Windows machine. It goes through OBS, which doesn't like iPhone material, so it has to go through Handbrake, and then it has to get into the system to be done. So unfortunately, I can't just play videos on the fly. Plus, I really need to see it just in case there's any dodgy, because sometimes they come in vertical and sometimes they come in like that, and in order to play them in, it's not just as simple as a picture, which is far, far easier. So no disrespect, but I will play your 20 seconds tomorrow, if that's all right, Bonnie. Much appreciated. Right, so let's. This is going to be our little tune out of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Silent Night. Care of the lovely Ray. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Thank you so much, Ray. A lovely, lovely, relaxing tune. And lovely to see the organ, not the organ, an electric keyboard, in a different position. And we get to see the edge of view as well playing. Very, very, very stylish. Love it. Love it. Thank you very much. Let's, fingers crossed it goes through, that YouTube won't force me to mute it or anything. Right, we've had a few bits and bobs come in. Now, as I explained to Bonnie, videos I can't just take out and play. I appreciate that I asked for something Christmassy, but videos I just can't do that because they come in all sorts of different formats. However, pictures usually come in a JPEG format, which is very easy for me to show. So this is a felt runner, something for the Christmas table. I believe Mark Burgess has sent this in, a felt runner. Of all the felt I've ever felt, never felt a piece of felt that felt like that felt, apparently. So thank you very much for that. Let's quickly go through some of the others that have been sent in. Andrew Norris has sent in a wreath, and here it is. Look at that's a lovely wreath there. Let's get a big zoom in with some golden candles, and it all looks very lovely. And look, these look like almost but not quite gingerbread characters, don't they? That's very lovely. Thank you very much for that. That's Andrew Norris. Superb. And he says, over here, we light a candle each Sunday in December. Only show if you're still, that's fine. And Bonnie's obviously sent in her video. This is hello, Richard. This is the star I put up every year, says Julia M. It was brought by train to the northwest from a charity shop in Plymouth. Let's have a little look at that. It's a lovely star, this. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Very lovely. Lovely star there. Thank you, Julia M. That's very kind. And pressing the buttons and getting into other parts of the computer that the Heineken beer has not reached. Sean James Cameron says, oh no, he doesn't. He sent me something about beach huts, which I have no idea what that is. And that's, oh, hang on, one more. Ron Langley has sent in their whole Christmassy thing. Now, we've been in this room. We went and saw Ron and Elaine. And here is their front room. And doesn't it look Christmassy? With some bald bloke on the telly, which has probably ruined their Christmas now. But very nice. Look at that. Lots of colour. And that sort of Christmas ladder thing on the left-hand side, that was almost on the floor when little Joe was over there trying to pull it down. Bless his socks. I did try and help him to pull it down, but Ron was straight in and rugby tackled me and thrust me to the ground and said, "Don't you ever do that again." So clearly I wouldn't dream of it. Anyway, lots of nice comments there. Andrew Broughton says, thanks, Ray. And Kerry Baldwin says, totally agree. Cameron says, Sean James Cameron says, 4 candles. Yes, absolutely. I would like to have a cake with fork handles in to give to when Joe is 4, I think I would do that. Get some fork handles and shove them in. It would be quite funny. Jeff and Mandy says, not much better defending. I'm not quite sure what that's about. Trev Travels by Narrowboat says, lost you there for a bit. I forgot my phone was not plugged in, so I lost the internet and the phone died. Oh, Trev, that's no good at all. Seabird says, Boris also had a party in May 2020 when in lockdown. Yes, I heard about that one as well. He definitely doesn't want anybody to probe, does he? That's hence, it seems to me, and you may not agree, that's why we are all made to suffer for the sake of one man and his career. But will it work? Will we see through it? I am interested to know your opinion on that, but not tonight, unfortunately, because time is against us. Now, it's Thursday evening. I'll be back again tomorrow. Again, another solo show. If I can keep off the COVID stories, I will. But, it is an important issue that's going on now. And I feel that if people want to talk about it, and I know not everybody wants to hear it, I realise that, and people are worried and what have you, but I'm trying, the message I'm trying to say is, please don't worry too much about it all, because the mainstream media have scared everybody witless, and it's not as grim as it seems. That's my message to you. Unless you're in the very vulnerable group, then obviously take extra precautions. Take as many precautions as you like. Judge it from your own self. That's all I'm saying. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much for coming and tuning in today. It's been wonderful to have your company, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I will be back making the end of my video for Saturday. The question that I don't know whether anybody answered was, have you made anything with your own hands instead of going out and buying? We do tend to just go and easily buy stuff, but it was a great fun and very rewarding building the coffee table. It may not be the most handsome coffee table in the world, of course, but I made it. I made it with my own. I could have bought something for 30 or 40 quid and just gone out there and bought it, and it may have been secondhand, gave something a bit of life. But I just got a lot of pleasure in knowing that I created something. So I'd like to know if you guys have save it for tomorrow. If you've made something with your own hands, then and you're proud of it, then maybe take a picture and send it in, and we'll play it in tomorrow's show. That would be fantastic. Anyway, that's it for now. Michael White says, I think your coffee table's great. Do you know, I can put coffee on it and it doesn't fall to bits, and that is the main thing. Wise Owl says 100% right. Richard and Clive Audible says goodbye everyone. Mr. Basilby says thank Richard, great show. Bonnie says I'm complying and holding my line. You hold on to your line. Somebody's got to. I'm glad there are plenty of people holding on to that line. We need them, don't we? And John Foster says keep it up, Mr. Vobes, keep hammering away. If we don't, it won't. If we don't, it won't. Quite right. Peace and love to all. Good night, says the lovely Julia. And Ramiboo says, yes, the tree skirt under the tree was a present I made for my mum when I was a freshman at high school. Ah, there we go. Wish I was creative enough to make something, says Will Martin. There we are. Take care. Thanks for the videos. Thanks to Ray for Silent Night. Thanks to Andrew for, I think that was number 4. I believe that we have another 3 to go, if I'm correct. But interesting to see what art comes up in tomorrow's show. And in the meantime, thanks to everybody else, to Julia and to Judith for moderating, for you to coming along, for everybody who rang in. But that's it. Till next time, ta-ta.